Howdy folks and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today we'll be talking about Legacy of the Void, StarCraft 2's final expansion and sadly, probably the last true iteration of the franchise, at least for now. Despite what the title says, I enjoyed Legacy of the Void the most out of the trilogy. Wings of Liberty closely behind it, and if you have watched my Heart of the Swarm video, well, you know that's dead last. Legacy of the Void does so many things right in its main campaign. There were so many great characters with interesting dialogue, fantastic visuals that immersed you quickly into the game, and musical callbacks that fans from 25 years ago would instantly pick up. However, there is something rotten in the koprulu sector, and it really has to do with the ending of the game, and in retrospect, this franchise. And I do hope I'm wrong. I've advocated that most StarCraft fans would play anything within the universe. Give us a 2D adventure click game, give us a first-person shooter, hell, give us Protoss SimCity for goodness sake. Alas, knowing the stupidity of now parent company Microsoft when it comes to their IPs they spend billions on, I'm not going to keep so much hope alive. Yet, I'm jumping the gun here even if the ending brought a sour taste, because what's at the core of this game is absolutely fantastic, and let's see why.
As it was foretold, Amon, the Dark God, lives again. If any hope remains for our galaxy, it lies in the hands of the Xel'Naga. Only one piece of the prophecy remains unfulfilled. That on the world where Amon was reborn, the last light will be revealed.
So we get a little recap on what has happened. Zeratul is still on his prophecy quest around the stars trying to figure out how to defeat Amon. We get a mention of Duran from Brood War, also known as Nerud from Wings of Liberty, Amon's #1 follower, who Zeratul thinks can lead us in the right direction, or I guess Nerud's notes can. Zeratul then receives a distress call about some random Protoss being abducted and a Mobius facility right by us. Even better is Kerrigan is on her revenge mission too.
Zeratul, I thought I sensed your presence. Let's not mince words. Why are you here?
This place holds information I seek, and my captured brethren. I intend to free them both from the Terran's grip.
This facility is a breeding ground for Amon's hybrid army. My swarm will erase it from existence.
This is a great starting mission since we get our main character from Heart of the Swarm doing exactly what she was doing when we left her. Plus, I enjoyed the fact that Zeratul and Kerrigan know it's futile to fight each other when both of them have ulterior motives for being in the same place. Kerrigan being there to destroy the hybrids and Zeratul being there for information on Amon and to help out the abducted Protoss. Legacy of the Void's missions do a decent job at switching up what the player needs to do, and even if they copy most of the mechanics throughout the game, there was always something slightly different which stopped it from getting stale. This level has this doom wave of Zerg attacking into the Mobius facility, which not only is visually striking, but if your units get in their way, they're kaput. I also like the Terran's new voice lines that are controlled by Amon. After so many years playing Wings of Liberty, it was jarring to hear all the new recording.
Slay the Protoss! Their flesh will serve the Master!
It made me feel like Amon had the edge on us for some reason. We bust out the Templar that were imprisoned and avoid Kerrigan's death march towards the facility's reactor.
The Tal'Darim? Those heretics have never ventured so close to our worlds.
This can only be the work of Amon. Templar, where were they holding you?
A Xel'Naga temple, unlike any I have seen. It was called Eris, but its location was kept a secret from us.
So, the Tal'Darim are an elite guard of Amon, Protoss that left with Amon back millennia ago who fanatically linked with the god. We get information on some Xel'Naga temple and head out to that world. Now, it felt a bit jumpy in terms of narrative, but I understand it's a prologue and they had to do something to fill in the gaps for the player.
Within those ancient walls lies our last hope.
Tal'Darim, seal the temple.
None enter until my work is done.
The Tal'Darim have such a great design throughout the game, and we'll come to know one very well later on. For now, we have to fight through not only the Tal'Darim forces, but the planet breaking apart underneath us. I don't know if the developers intended this, but the beginning of almost every mission was difficult, and not in a bad way. I really enjoyed the composition they gave you, and if you were smart about it, you could use it to your advantage. This level has us foraging for Vespian gas through the fissures in the ground. My usual go-to is just build up a mass army and plow through the level, yet at least in the starting missions, that was kind of impossible with the resources being limited. This is a good thing and made microing units essential. I also felt like most of the levels didn't need you to expand to a second base, but it was so advantageous for resources and played into the flows of the mission that it just felt natural. I think that's an ode to the level designers who really went all out this game. There's nothing like blinking your stalkers on high-end units. Brings me back to my latter days. We get past the Tal'Darim and Zeratul can enter the temple. I like the detail of the Vespian gas still seeping through the temple since this whole planet is on its last legs. Seriously, the amount of details in this map were staggering, and truly added to the beautiful universe this game is set in. We blink and cut our way through hybrids and Tal'Darim alike. God damn, Zeratul's so badass. So obviously the being that talks through some dimensional void to an already fanatical leader is not a good sign.
Truthbringer, the Terrans have failed and led these intruders here. The great work is in jeopardy. Abandon your fear, Malash. Redemption is at hand. Your universe will be freed of its suffering. Ready your people for war and await my command. It will be done.
We fight through more of the temple and destroy the communicator device so that Amon can stop planning his redemption, or whatever stupid evil plan he has in store for us.
The Tal'Darim are severed from Amon's guidance.
Something's happening. I'm detecting a powerful fluctuation of void energies.
Zeratul, the keystone shall usher you on top. Tassadar, can it be?
I was confused at Zeratul's response to seeing Tassadar saying, "Can it be?" Yeah, dude, you saw him literally a game ago when you visited the Overmind, right? Why was this a surprise? That Tassadar came from the void, ? This was the first little instance, and it surely is not the last, that made me feel like the 3 games were written by different people and directed by a different person. I'll highlight more of it when we get there. For now, we have another piece of the prophecy. Another great move from the level designers is reusing the space in a different way. For the mission, getting out with only 4 minutes left was thrilling, and made you think of the battles that you had to take and which ones you could blink away from. Even though that was hard with Zeratul's spin blade move, like, goddamn, give me a Diablo-esque game with StarCraft characters. We get to the cave exit and get the hell out of Dodge, which ends the prologue and sets up the main game. Zeratul needs Artanis and the might of the Protoss, or I guess what's left of it, to defeat Amon. Or I guess commune with the Xel'Naga, I don't really know. Zeratul explains that Tassadar, the voice, told him about the keystone. Yes, that keystone that knocked out Kerrigan twice is going to be used for Amon somehow. We haven't figured that one out yet, but it's our only lead.
I must return to my people. They will not understand my actions, but I will face their judgment. Make them understand. For only Artanis, young hierarch of the Protoss, can unite our scattered factions as one, before Amon's wrath engulfs the galaxy.
Now, one of my biggest gripes with Heart of the Swarm was how uninteresting the dialogue between the Zerg leaders was, and how there was no nuance in their action or thought process. Thank God that's not the case in Legacy of the Void. On the contrary, we're going to be talking a lot about the themes including self-doubt, leadership, self-determination, ideological allegiances, and a lot more. Yeah, we're going to go all into it. The first scene with Artanis, he is already questioning his leadership, something we'll see throughout the game. Not only does he doubt himself, but the burden of making choices is heavy. Because there is no answer that saves everyone, Artanis will quickly learn that sacrifices have to be made even if they are hard to take.
Yet, you spoke of a way to stand against him.
This vision was a benevolent one, as if an ancient voice called out from beyond. The keystone shall usher you unto hope.
Keystone?
I saw a burst of light revealing the Xel'Naga artifact on the Terran world of Korhal. It is the keystone of this vision. The prophecies speak of Xel'Naga standing against Amon in the end times. I believe this keystone will guide us to them.
I have always trusted you, Zeratul, but the burdens of leadership demanded much of me. There are times I am uncertain whether I was truly ready for such weight.
Your doubt is unfounded, young Artanis. You must embrace what you have become, if you are to be the leader we now need.
Artanis agrees to mobilize the Templar, and Zeratul is Korhal bound to find the keystone. But we need to find our ship. Oh god damn it, who forgot to put it in the parking garage?
The Void Seeker lies in ruins. What has transpired here?
Zerg, protect the Dark Prelate.
The Zerg in this area should have been eradicated. Stalkers, hurry to the Nexus point nearby and warn our brethren.
We get an abandoned Nexus, and Selendis exclaims to us that she can't feel Artanis' light, or Kala, or whatever the connection between the Protoss is, and we're tasked on finding out what happened. Since we just spoke to the guy, like, wasn't that a minute ago? We meet our first new character, Karax, a phase smith who, if you don't know the lore of the Protoss, check out my History of Each Race video. Phase smiths are absolute badass technician scientists that have developed a lot of things for the Protoss, some more ethical than others. Now, I have to thank the many people from my Heart of the Swarm video that told me that the tutorial, no matter how on the nose it seemed for me, was in fact super helpful to them, since they had never played Zerg before, or the game. I truly appreciate you voicing your opinions, and I would love to know what you felt about Legacy of the Void's start, and what worked or didn't work for you. This time around, the tutorial felt a bit better, or at least not so in your face. We advance on both Zerg and Protoss positions, engaging with your typical swarmies, but also the Protoss seem a bit off. Zeratul believes them corrupted due to Amon's will, but we don't know the extent of his perversion into the Kala. It is interesting that Zeratul, being a Dark Templar, has no affiliation with the Kala, so he's exempt from this trickery. And now Selendis goes quiet. Uh-oh.
Zeratul, I can sense your presence. The Kala is filled with rage. My mind is being consumed.
Artanis, you must hold on. We are coming for you. Your lives are meaningless, purposeless. I grant you salvation.
See what I mean about the map extending? This was something I noticed a lot more in Heart of the Swarm as opposed to Wings of Liberty. I enjoyed this so much since you don't really know when the mission is finished. It keeps you on your toes.
Kala, fury, and rage.
Artanis doesn't sound too good, and we quickly rush over to his position.
I can hear his whispers.
Fight, Artanis. Do not let Amon consume you.
Unending hatred.
He has corrupted the Kala. Your nerve cords chain you to his will. They must be removed. No.
Certified badass. This fight between Zeratul and Artanis is exquisite, not only showing off how good Blizzard's cinematic teams can be visually, but the direction is striking. Oh my god, no, Zeratul, please don't tell me. Oh wow. Okay, at first I was shouting at my computer screen, how could you kill off one of your main characters and who wrote this? But after knowing the fate of other characters, this might be a better ending. Let that sit with you. So Amon is controlling the Protoss or the Kala linked ones through a psionic connection. With cutting their nerve cores, they can take that ability away, but it's not such a light action. Get it? Light action? Think about these Protoss always adhering to the Kala and the light. It's not just like a religion or a form of government, it's a psionic bond that has been ingrained in their psyche and society for thousands of years. Even worse is that beforehand, during the Aeons of Strife, the bloodiest time in Protoss history, so far, the Kala and its connective light was the catalyst for peace. It's really an interesting theme that will be filled out as we continue. But try to put yourself in those shoes. Your culture, way of life, everything you've known to be cut off, and there's no going back? It just makes you think. Anyways, we find Karax and everyone agrees that we have to leave Aiur quickly, since we've apparently saved everyone we can, and all the rest are under Amon's control. Ugh, it's not looking good for Team Artanis. But we don't have a ride, so Karax and Artanis plan to unlock the old Spear of Adun, the flagship from the olden days. Amon has taken over Selendis, which, yeah, that sucks, and of course this old ship has no charge, so that's what we're tasked with. We also get access to the support systems of the ship, which I'll get into a bit later once we've unlocked some, but I want you to know that those abilities were critical to me enjoying the gameplay even more than Wings of Liberty or Heart of the Swarm. Even the first spell, Warping in the Pylon Anywhere, was so useful tactically, plus its upgrade, that I was astonished how many times I could use it. Anyways, we destroy the creep blocking the charging crystals, but before we depart, Amon's whole life is broken, flawed shtick, I get it, but it's the only thing he says throughout the game. I am your salvation, yada yada, like dude, we get it, you're cosmic horror. I just wasn't impressed with him for now.
Power transfer completed. The Spear of Adun is ready to depart.
Want all Firstborn freed from Amon aboard, Facesmith. We must flee this world if we are to survive.
This is where I went, these are some fantastic visuals. The production value for this game seems so much higher than Heart of the Swarm, and as I said before, I love the small details that the maps are what we'll see on board of the Spear show. See, that's freaking so cool to see. Not only witnessing how zealots are put in stasis in the process of becoming a dragoon or a stalker being made is just, it's amazing. It makes you feel like you're on the Spear of Adun, which I felt like on the Hyperion, but not the Leviathan. I also enjoyed that even though Karax is a very capable smith, he still does not know everything about the ship, and we'll be discovering stuff together, which is always great gameplay and narrative integration. So let's not forget our mission. We have to retrieve the keystone from Core Hall, which I assume is still in Manx's office. Let's note the details that we get in this screen. Not only is this visually striking, but knowing that 6 billion people live on Core Hall alone just goes to show how massive the Dominion is. Oh, did we come at a bad time?
Evasive warp!
Protoss vessel. This is Commander James Raynor. Artanis? Man, ain't you a sight for sore eyes?
So we see a familiar face, James Raynor, who is currently battling the Mobius people who work for Neruda and with extension Amon. He tells Artanis that Core Hall is not the only planet being attacked, and that each invasion has been led by hybrids, which means Amon can pretty much start knocking planets off one by one. For now, we have to help the Terrans defend their planetary shield battery, or else it's literally going to fall out of the sky and blow up an entire city. Yeah, those are pretty cool stakes to start off. But before our first real mission, I wanted to point out the background wall on the Spear of Adun. No matter where we are in game or what is happening, there was always something to interact with, someone to talk with, or something to see. I really give the team who worked on this so much gratitude because I truly felt immersed through talking with every person on the ship that I could. And then you get these backdrops that could be art pieces. Like, are you serious? Look at those battle cruisers. Now, I don't know how the story would resonate for someone who didn't take the time to talk to the auxiliary characters. Even our first dialogue with Raynor after the cutscene is filled with information, and this interaction is exactly why I disliked Heart of the Swarm, because it lacked any of this. Artanis for now is a typical Protoss. Love of history, no emotion, yada yada, which Raynor calls him out for in a way, saying that regardless of what Artanis' ideology on luck is, the results will be the same. It's the first crack at Artanis' intellectual discourse, and him growing as a character. Sadly, this is what I meant about death being a more fitting ending to a character than what they do to poor Jimmy. We don't see Raynor, I would argue the second main character of this universe after the mission, for a long time. It pains me because I would have loved to seen both Artanis and Raynor, both with history together, combat the forces at large. Well, together, but I digress. Artanis tells James that we need the keystone, but of course it's not going to be a walk in the Core Hall Academy. He also informs Jimmy that Zeratul has been killed, and I guess I wanted more from Jimmy than, I knew he would end that way with this damn prophecy mumbo jumbo. He teleported on your ship and made you save Kerrigan, plus all the stuff in the originals, I don't know, it just seemed a bit cold. Yet after what Raynor has witnessed in the last 10 years, Christ, I don't know how he's still sane. We also talked to Karax about not being connected with the Kala, and again, this is so much freaking better than the interpersonal relationships in Heart of the Swarm, and that's even a stretch to call it that.
I cannot call upon the surety of other phase smiths. I am alone.
I feel the isolation as well, as though thrashing within the vacuum of space. But you are not alone, brother.
To think, the Dark Templar have endured this existence all this time. The days ahead will not be easy.
We may not have the Kala to rely on, Karax, but we still stand as one. We will endure. There is no other option.
Not only is there this huge schism now that they've detached themselves from the Kala, both physically and mentally, but Karax is talking about truly feeling isolated, and Artanis has a great line in response. Now, some might find a lot of the overall ideology of Artanis throughout the game to be wanton or foolish, in the sense that it's just kumbaya, we're all together, unity, you name it. but I truly find his character's progression and how he views unity and leadership to be powerful, and we'll get to those specifics a little bit later. We also meet Rohana, our War Council advisor, who has yet to sever her connection with the Kala. She assures us that she can control Amon's corruption, which I called BS on.
I feel darkness lingering at the edges of my every thought, but I am not corrupted.
I do like that she is also a preserver, one that holds memories and personalities of the Protoss before us. I wonder if the probes that are designed for recording history just feed into her. Anyways, Rohana also holds onto some themes and elements that I found interesting, especially with her connection with history and culture. We'll soon come to learn that Rohana is bound more by the Protoss history than their future, which is an interesting duality since the phrase, "those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it," but an oversaturation of the past and tenets of said past can lead to stagnation or even demise. We do gain access to another fantastic gameplay mechanic they implemented, that being the assembly panel. Not only is it lore building showing off the different tech each subrace of Protoss use, that being Dark Templar tech or some more that we come into later, the biggest thing for me personally was being able to choose the Dragoon. Whoever at Blizzard said, we should really bring back some of the most iconic units in their originals should have gotten their bonus. Now, it might pain some people, but knowing I had Dragoons back at my disposal, you might see many missions where I just mass Dragoon. I tried not to, but nostalgia is a domineering mistress, and thoughts of fastest 3v3s pumping Dragoons out so fast my 9-year-old brain remembers the 1 through 9 keybinds and rally placements, I couldn't help myself. It also helps that the Dragoons plus sentries, which we'll get to later on, are very powerful. Last bit before we go into the level and see there's so much here we can discuss. Rohana is the last of the preservers since the others were killed off in the original Zerg invasion. This plays greatly into her reluctance to sever her cords since it wouldn't only destroy her connection to the Kala, but it would be the end of the preservers, meaning all the history she has been tasked with keeping would be forgotten. A truly harrowing scenario.
A terrible burden has been laid upon you, Rohana.
Yet it is my fate to bear it. A fate foreseen by the same minds that constructed this vessel. I trust in their wisdom, Hierarch. I will serve my purpose, much as you must serve yours.
Alright, so we're on the Sky Shield platform, and oh, this was such a great visual. I love the thought of our forces on this gigantic platform slowly descending onto a capital city. The stakes are high, and these little details of the sides coming off, chef's kiss. We also get access to our next ability, Orbital Strikes. And oh boy, let me tell you, the amount of fun I had using these cannot be measured. Do not screw with the Spear of Adun. Now, I've been talking this game up since the start. One of the things I dislike at first and then absolutely thought was a farce is how Karax always mentions how you can grab Solarite, the energy system for the Spear of Adun. Now, granted, it's very important to collect the Solarite since some of the late game abilities are fantastic. One reminder, maybe 2 a level would be fine, but I kid you not, Karax wants Solarite more than I want Mama 2's pizza on a cold day. We take out Mobius forces and secure the Sky Shield, and get another nice playoff between Artanis not understanding nuance and Jimmy throwing out idioms left and right, which makes me think of the Archer gag.
While we were fighting to get planetside, the Imperial Palace was raided. Security data indicates the Keystone was taken. My mama used to have a saying, when it rains, it floods.
I am uncertain as to how this saying is helpful, friend Raynor.
Me either.
We also get access to the creme de la creme of the Spear of Adun, its solar matrix core. I also love these cutscenes that aren't fully cinematics, but are just so beautifully done. Hear that music too, that's an ode to the original soundtrack.
This chamber provides power to the Spear of Adun and all its systems. Its radiance even contributes nourishment for our warriors.
How long until you can bring its tactical systems online?
System analysis has begun, but the star has lain dormant for an eon. It will take time, and a powerful ignition catalyst like solarite to restore it to full capacity.
With the solar core, we get to choose the abilities we deploy on the battlefield. You can also add supply or decrease warp times, which I didn't notice until halfway through my playthrough, but they were great additions and truly made me feel like I was progressing. We can talk with Rohana again, but this time on Daiul.
There is a direct threat to the Empire. Your choice to aid these Terrans is perplexing.
Why do you assume that they are lesser beings, Rohana?
I do not make an assumption. Gaze upon them. Unsophisticated, primitive. They communicate through orifices, mouths.
Again, Rohana is coming from aeons of superiority. I wouldn't even call it discrimination just yet, because that's more of a human term. The Protoss zeitgeist on this is more about not wanting to overextend their influence on other species like what the Xel'Naga did to them. I also like how they explain Amon's control of the Terrans, since it's not just Mobius troops being in the facility, but the usage of the psionic link, since the prisoners that first colonized the Koprulu sector all had psionic traits. Example, why Terrans can produce ghosts. But why does it not have an effect on the people of Korhal, or why can't Amon just take over every Terran? If you have that answer, please let me know.
Last transmissions were chaotic, crazed. Next thing we know, the attack started.
Then Amon has turned them into his slaves, an army. They are dangerous, but they are only the start of the war to come.
You always were the optimistic sort.
Anyways, Amon now has Zerg, not part of the Swarm. He has Protoss through the corruption of the Kala, and he has Terrans through mind control. God damn, things are looking bleak. For this mission, we'll need to defend the Terrans when they're being psionically skull-screwed and advance on the Keystone's position. Again, the visual storytelling is striking. We're in the capital, the one that just got assaulted by Kerrigan like a week ago. You can see the landing zones from the Zerg's aerial bombardment, plus there are still Ultralisk bodies strewn around. It just goes to show that even though it seemed peachy clean at the end of Heart of the Swarm, many suffered, and the city is still in ruin. Another good gameplay mechanic that shows up in a bunch of levels is the forward advancement of your AI allies. It might not seem much, but having them take forward positions really help the feeling of progression within the level and establishing the foothold in the city. We also help out Valerian by saving their scientists in 3 locations. He says he won't forget our good deeds, but I don't think we ever see him again. Okay, small tangent, but again, Legacy of the Void does not create a legacy for many of these characters that they put in and then drop. It makes me sad, since I thought Valerian was a great counter to Kerrigan's Bloodlust and Heart of the Swarm, and was turning into a very dynamic character. He won't be the only one that gets snubbed. With the orbital strikes and a ton of Dragoons, props to the Terran building Diamondbacks as well, we finally make it to the Keystone.
Damn. Look at this place. Even the Zerg didn't tear into the city like this.
Wow, that was a pretty powerful comparison, Jimmy. An apt one, too.
Did you know this warrior?
No. But I know his story. I know all their stories. None of them ever think it'll end like this. Reports been coming in from all over. Dominion worlds overrun. Outposts destroyed. A lot more dead boys out there. Warriors.
Death is the fate of all warriors. A fate we too may soon embrace.
I also love the look on Jimmy's face noticing Artanis is wielding Zeratul Dark Templar Psyblade. He knows the fight isn't over. I was getting so hyped for Jimmy and Artanis to team up and bye. Yeah, all that James Raynor, gone. Gone until the goddamn epilogue, and don't even get me started on that. And this is where I truly don't understand what had gone on internally at Blizzard. For those people that commented that Legacy of the Void should have been the second game, you're so right. Kerrigan being saved should not have happened in Wings of Liberty. All three should have fought against Amon, and then Kerrigan should have been the main villain at the end. What we get is a franchise that literally was 20 years in the making, kill off one of their main characters, cast aside the other, and then bring the last one randomly back in the third act. This does not take away from Artanis and the story of the Protoss, which I argue is the meat of this game and the reason why I enjoyed it. However, what they have done to the characters that literally built the franchise is abysmal and an actual affront to the original universe. The back and forth between Raynor and Artanis here is poignant, since both know the cost of war, but also know the cost of surrendering to the forces of evil. There is no winning, but there is a right way of going about that. Both can't just stick their heads in the sand and pretend like everything's fine, which begs the question, why the hell would they not have Raynor at least accompany Artanis? Am I the only one who was flabbergasted by these choices? Okay, I have to pace myself because it's not the last time I'm going to talk about this. We get back to the ship to discover something weird going on with Rohana.
I see your doubt, your fear. You were so alone, mewling in the darkness. Let me release you, all of you, from the suffering of this life. The infinite cycle of strife and anguish is at an end.
Your words are little more than poison, Amon. Your actions bring nothing but death.
They bring purpose, an end to a cycle none within had chosen.
So, Rohana still doesn't want to cut off from the Kala even if she got mind controlled. Artanis can't kill off a literal preserver of history, so he has to put her in some sort of stasis module. I know what you're thinking, why does she get the free pass, but I do understand Artanis being stuck between a rock and a hard place on this one. Karax also gives us a lot of information on the Keystone, believing it could lead us to the Xel'Naga. We briefly talked to Swan, and then that's it for the Terran. Such a shame because I would have loved to seen the Hyperion crew with the Spear of Adun crew. Alas. Our next stop is Shakoris, a planet any fan of the original remembers, the Dark Templar homeworld. Turns out the matriarch from Brood War, the one Kerrigan literally infested and mind-controlled, had a daughter who was taken up the reins as leader of the Dark Templar.
Shakoris is overrun. Loss of life is extensive. Hold. We are receiving a transmission.
Praise the gods. Artanis, you live.
Matriarch Vorazun, what has happened here?
Shakoris has fallen. The warp gate linking this world to Ire has been reopened. Countless hybrid and Zerg pour from the other side. They've obliterated our cities, decimated our Shadow Guard. We are trying to evacuate the remaining population, but I am uncertain whether we can hold long enough to get them safely away.
Unfortunately, the warp gate between Shakoris and Ire has been reopened, and countless Zerg plus hybrids are descending on the planet. Before we touch down, we can talk with the matriarch again, which gives us a bit more emotional insight into Artanis. The fact that he blames himself for killing Zeratul interests me. As someone so factual, I can't think any other way of saying it. I'm surprised that he doesn't think of the fact he was literally controlled. Yes, you might owe Zeratul to continue the prophecy, but his blood is not on your hands. It brings this weight to Artanis, or at least he perceives it as that, where his choices are the catalyst for change or destruction, when in reality he is moving with the stream. He is not the stream itself. We make it to the surface and find out that Shakoris is pretty foobarred, and we have to help the Dark Templar evacuate. Unfortunately, the damn creep always plays a role in stopping us, so we'll need to send in some DTs for some fun slicing and dicing. Wait, a what?
Artanis, I'm detecting a rift opening near your position. A Void Thrasher. By the gods, it's sieging the warp conduit.
Okay, I think I've become numb to the overexpansion of enemies in StarCraft. I called it the wowification in Heart of the Swarm, and honestly most of the stuff in Legacy wasn't too bad, but there are some egregious moments. And if you know, you know. So we release the launch bays or destroy the creeps surrounding them and successfully save the Dark Templars. Awesome.
The Templar have fallen.
Then the threat is greater than I realized.
We cannot let the same fate befall Shakuras.
It is too late for that. Amon Zerg poured through the warp gate as a tide of flesh and blade.
Oh, that's a great line.
This world is lost. With such an infestation, Shakuras must be destroyed.
Destroy Shakuras? I will not permit this.
Permit? Shakuras was my people's home long before we offered yours sanctuary upon it. I will not let this world be a den for Amon's forces. Worlds may fall to ash. What matters is that we endure.
So Shakuras is destined to die, with good cause, and I think it's the start of Artanis' thought process being that of not giving a shit. I kid, but it seems that the fall of Ire 2.0, now going ahead to take out Shakuras, really makes you think about what's important and what can be replaced. The whole thing is infested, or at least about to be, and its history is meaningless, right? We can hold on to the notions of the past, but when they interfere with the future, well, you'll succumb to that history if you choose not to move forward. But if you move forward without the tenets that brought you to this point in the first place, what's your identity, purpose? See, this is the storytelling I live for, right there. It doesn't take mountains of dialogue, cinematics, it takes a simple cutscene and some build-up. It's like the writers knew what the arc would be before they put it on screen. What a concept. We continue this narrative by talking to the matriarch. It's an interesting debate since Artanis is trying to convince her of unity through them being Protoss, when the matriarch says that they were judged not based off of their shared race but their culture, which is the only thing that made them unique. Whatever new world Artanis and company are planning, it won't be easy to fit all the pieces together. And if you talk to Rohana right after this, she brings in a much harsher view, calling Shakuras a wretched little world. Yeah, the High Council hated Dark Templars a lot, and with her preserved history, she is the bias they had. Another great question about history and how to remember it, especially when it comes to bias. She does have somewhat of a point in that she references the Aeons of Strife and how the Kala was the only thing stopping the Protoss from killing each other in droves. But Artanis retorts with this excellent line.
They denied their own race. How can you fight for them?
For one so sworn to preserve our history, Rohana, how can you be so blind to its turn?
We can also talk to Karax again about the Keystone, and he has this great simile comparing him trying to decipher the Keystone and the Terran scientist trying to reverse engineer Protoss tech. It's just out of his world, and I'm glad they gave Karax this mystery to solve. Not only does it give a bit more mystique to the Keystone, which we've been tied to since Wings of Liberty, but we're starting to understand why it's so goddamn important.
I have been thinking about this choice.
Are you reconsidering?
No. My time here has reminded me of the courage of your people. That we must fight. If we are to suffer, then so too will Amon. We will lure as many of Amon's hybrid and Zerg through the gateway as we can. Only once enough are through to wound him will we overload the temple and flee.
You mean to bleed him? Bold. But we can't risk the forces it would require to do such a thing.
Leave that to me, Matriarch. I have learned much from the Dark Templar.
Ah, there we go, Artanis, starting to fill those shoes. Boots. Protoss walkers? So the plan is to lure the Zerg through the warp gate from Ire and overload this old Xel'Naga temple to kill off 1 billion Zerg. Yeah, billions. It's a great use of literally a number steadily rising, and I think you would be lying if you said seeing 120 million Zerg and counting wouldn't make your legs start to shake. Now, one thing I did notice watching the footage throughout the game is that there are a lot of final stand missions, or at least this layout is exactly like another defend mission later on in the game. As much fun as it is to show these tower defense sections, which they kind of are, I'm not going to show the 30-some minutes of building up defenses 5 or 6 times. Just know that I always upgrade. With 1.5 billion Zerg on the planet, I think it's time to flip the switch.
Templar, initiate dimensional recall. Get to safety, now!
Nidus worms. The Zerg are poised to breach the temple.
Have faith, Matriarch. Your fallen people cry out for vengeance, and they shall have it.
Again, these cinematics are out of this world visually, and all the sound design is fantastic too. That's also a great shot.
Alone. It is said that those of our kind suffer, separated from the glory of the Kala.
Literally seeing the two different color side blades makes me want to commission this as an art piece.
But none of us are ever truly alone.
Certified Badass Part 2.
For our warrior hearts are bound by honor, tradition. Battle is waged in the name of the many. The brave, whose generation after generation choose the mantle of Dark Templar.
Yeah, seeing a planet that we've been to in every game being blown up was such a satisfying and iconic moment for me. It won't be the last. And isn't this game starting off so strong? The Matriarch has a good thought process in dealing with the death of her home planet. She's right that even though the physical world is gone, what made it special was the practices and cultures that were created through the Dark Templar's freedom and strife, which she will carry on. It's an interesting way of viewing history, what truly stays against the test of time, and what gets lost like teardrops in the rain. Wait, hold up, we're not getting that into the sci-fi, are we? Ooh, maybe we will. We can talk to Rohanna, and she's perplexed about why the Dark Templar help us, regardless of being exiled so long ago. Artanis makes a great point that their homeworld has always been Ire, and honestly, it's a great contrast for Rohanna to hold her beliefs, yet see for herself things that challenge those beliefs. You can't just convince a Protoss of something by saying it, since they're so rooted in their own beliefs. There needs to be experience, just as their thoughts changed on the Terrans throughout the games due to working together. Yet Rohanna drops some old quote about a dune purging the heretics or whatever, and honestly, Artanis is right. It would have been a grave misjustice for them to murder all of them who didn't want Kala's light. But the most interesting thing out of this conversation was how Rohanna explains how she sees or views history. There is no retrospective, cough cough. She tells Artanis that she views history like she was in the moment, which is a wild concept. It would be a weird feeling to feel what Joan of Arc felt like taking France, or Genghis Khan leading a charge through the steppes, but you couldn't step back and view it from the broader lens. In my eyes, that's a fallacy of the Preserver. It's not history, it's a moment. Anyways, we head to our next destination, Glacius, which Artanis believes to house a specialized warrior produced by the Protoss long ago, set dormant on an icy planet. Awesome premise. What are they called? Purifiers? Wait, where have I seen this before?
Glacius facility. Within lies the greatest weaponry the Empire ever developed.
It is the site of the Purifier Revival Program.
Purifiers? The forbidden weapon? They were sealed away by the Conclave, never to be restored.
The ancient purifiers are not kept here, Preserver. They are still locked away. Here, on Glacius, our researchers have been developing prototype weaponry inspired by that ancient technology.
You speak above your caste, Kalai. This is unimaginable heresy.
We are outmatched by Amon's forces and facing annihilation. If this technology may help us, we will use it.
Oh, right, and the Protoss caste system. Jesus, Rohana, you're worse than my uncle from Marasara. Good on you, Artanis, another point in leadership building to you. We get some backstory on the Tal'Darim, pretty much the OG Protoss going with Amon all the way before the Kala was even created, meaning they never took part in the Aeon strife. And like any decent leader, Artanis, even though he doesn't agree with Rohana's take on leaving the Purifiers, does ask why she is afraid of them.
The Purifier weaponry that has been researched here could prove to be a valuable addition to our arsenal.
That is what I am hoping. Is there any merit to Rohana's fears?
The Kalai on Glacius have prototyped the technology with successful results. It is said that these experimentations are no different than the Templar they are replications of, a byproduct of quantum predictive analytics.
They were and are still only machines. Do not give them such credence, Karax.
We too are machines of a biological nature. I often marvel at the architecture, the design, the careful construction of our form, our machinery. The Xel'Naga forged us as we forged the original Purifiers.
That's a great take from Karax. What makes the Protoss any different to the Purifiers other than being organic and one inorganic? Both have been made, per se, and we'll see what Karax meant by replicated instead of created. Unironically, we might be getting some Blade Runner Ghost in the Shell stuff. So, the Tal'Darim obviously want to destroy this planet, or at least stop us from getting this technology. So much so that they're literally laser beaming the whole thing from the atmosphere. We also meet a new character, Alarak, the first Descendant.
I am First Descendant Alarak, and I've been charged with destroying this facility. You seek the technology vault, but you are too late. It will be annihilated along with the rest of this pathetic world.
Who I kind of vibed with. I believe this is the first and the only Tal'Darim that we really talk with throughout the games, opposed to Balash, their leader, but we'll get to that. I enjoyed this mission. Watching the death ray slowly move around was a great visual, and I liked avoiding it with my troops. We get access to sentries as well, which were unbelievably helpful throughout this game. Getting upgraded shields and having the sentry's protection aura on top of that with the Dragoons seemed almost unfair. But we had a war to win. We get Karax to the technology vault just in the nick of time.
Focus the disruptor on their location. Let them burn.
I have its coordinates. Warping aboard the container now.
You are not as weak as you appear, Artanis. We shall meet again.
You wish to see me, Phase Smith?
Artanis, it is good to see you, young Executor.
No fucking way. Phoenix?
How can this be?
Guys, I lost my shit in a good way during this reveal. Honestly, I still remember his sacrifice. But is it really him?
Given your friendship with the Source personality, I thought, well, he believes he was brought from stasis and made a Dragoon.
Already happened.
Why are you here, Phoenix?
I was given a directive by Ogdaris himself to come to Glacius and serve the Templar.
It is the last recollection from his memory web. The Great Templar were still encoded by order of the Conclave.
Do you know about the experimentation done on Glacius?
Oh my god, it's his mind replicated. But the real Phoenix is dead. Christ, that's kind of wild. Damn, this is the only time that Artanis really delays his response to something.
Enough! I have fought far too long for the will of the Conclave to be examined like some specimen. I am Templar, and I am reunited with the dearest of friends. Is this not a glorious day?
You are right, of course.
I think he's trying to figure out if he made the right choice, bringing a copy of a Protoss mind back online. That is the analytical representation of the Protoss once called Phoenix. It hurts even more since losing a true friend doesn't get any easier, it just becomes normal. I'm sure Artanis internally is rehashing Phoenix's death number 1 and 2. Bro, are they trying to make me cry? What is this? Artanis also must tread carefully since purifiers, i.e. Phoenix, are an unknown factor, and he is unsure whether to let copied Phoenix in on the secret. And that's the crux of it. Even with 99% of the person Phoenix was, even if 1% is different, that's not Phoenix. Artanis is right to be wary of his new consciousness, but not fear it. We'll soon come to learn that it will be a powerful strategy with others we meet along the way.
The greatest Templar minds replicated. Dangerous machines that had to be shut down.
They were shut down, but we have never ceased the research, and still have tried to find ways to replicate our greatest Templar, to use that ancient technology.
Why do you tell me this?
We are facing a war like none we have seen before. We will need you in the days ahead. Maybe even the purifiers.
Then my blades are yours, old friend.
Wow, that is such good writing. I really want to know where they were during Heart of the Swarm. Karax makes a discovery through the Keystone and informs us of Ulnar, a place of legend and the home world to the Xel'Naga, which happens to be in the Rift. Okay, I wasn't going to touch it in the last 2 games since there's no true evidence of StarCraft stealing from Warhammer. Of course there are similarities, but the original StarCraft very much had its own flair and rhyme to it. The Void stuff is one thing, but now they're just calling in rifts that destroy normal materials, need specialized guidance systems to navigate, and bring through it gigantic cosmic horrors. I like the visuals, and I would question what they could do differently, but I was a little flummoxed by this whole Void Rift shtick brewing. We do get some great dialogue about the Xel'Naga, how they were only theories of what had happened to them after leaving the Protoss. The most important theory being they're all dormant and waiting for the Protoss to awaken them. We all kill Amon, everyone lives happily ever after. Not quite. Before we try to awaken these creators, I enjoyed this bit between Karax and Artanis talking about knowledge. In this day and age of technological advancements, I enjoyed that the Protoss can't even comprehend some things, and it just goes to show stagnation is the death of innovation. Oh boy, Phoenix 3.0 is starting to question some things.
Phoenix, you appear distressed.
Apologies, Hierarch. I have been pondering the events that brought me here. I have discovered there are holes in my memory. Battles recorded here in the ship's archives that I should be able to recall, but cannot.
What is it you have found?
Records of my defeat at Antioch, and being revived as a Dragoon. But this body, it is clear to me that I am no Dragoon.
And here we get another theme of legacy, the freedom of choice. I think after dealing with the Twilight Council and Judicators for most of his life, Artanis is fed up with telling people what they can and can't do. To deny Phoenix the truth of his situation willingly would be a disservice, maybe even torture to the copied mind. Even though the replicated mind has the analytical essence of Phoenix, now he charts a path of his own, and that choice is the beauty of freedom, even if the outcome is undesirable like Artanis says. Who are we to deny others' choice? So, of course, entering the Xel'Naga temple isn't as straightforward as walking in the front door. The Tal'Darim have locked it using these celestial locks that are all over the map. There was nothing too special specifically about this mission, even though I did have fun piloting the Phoenixes for a moment. I have a soft spot for them for some reason. What's your favorite Protoss unit in StarCraft 2? With the locks unlocked, we gain access and then go back to the ship. This is probably the second time jumping back to the ship narrative-wise didn't make the most sense. We do get a dialogue from Karax about the Keystone having another function other than locating the Xel'Naga home. Something about siphoning void energy. I'm sure it will come back. Artanis explains that he must go alone to the temple and that he trusts Zeratul words, which the matriarch retorts back that Zeratul's a traitor for killing her mother, which I get. But, Protoss folks, do we not know the story of what happened beforehand? A little bit of Kerrigan mind control, please? Regardless, we enter the temple and find even more prophecies.
Zeratul. Shakuras. Queen of Blades. Kerrigan.
Artanis, wait. I am not your enemy. I have come seeking the Xel'Naga.
She's seen that blade before. Okay, Certified Badass Part 3.
It seems fate has drawn us together. We should not attempt it further.
So like, Kerrigan popping out of nowhere without any talk about the Leviathan ship is pretty baffling to me. I know they had to bring her in somehow, but her line about fighting these hybrid for days just kinda doesn't hit for me. I don't know, this is when I started to really question the order of the games. Like, why did Wings of Liberty turn her? Why wasn't it Raynor versus Mengsk, whole political revolt, succession through Valerian, and leave the Queen of Blades out until the very end? Start hyping up the Xel'Naga through the Mobius group and Nerud, and have the ending of the first game being deposing Nerud somehow killing off Mengsk, but being left with the question on how to stop the Swarm and the oncoming Amon threat. You go into Legacy as the second game, grabbing the Keystone, fearing Kerrigan and the Swarm, but also Amon is a bigger problem. We fight alongside Kerrigan, and together, the three main goddamn characters of this fucking franchise, Raynor, Kerrigan, and Zeratul, confront the ultimate evil. But get this, Sarah could absorb the energy if they do defeat Amon to regenerate herself like what happened at the end of Wings of Liberty. But guess what? She instead uses it to become the ultimate evil and continue the Swarm. Hence, the third game you play as the Swarm laying siege to everything you built up in the last two games, and then decide how it ends. Sorry for saying my fanfiction out loud, but at least that would give her credence to her annihilating whole planets, and then not having this wishy-washy, I want to save humans, oh Abathur, why do you hurt the Zerglings? I wish there was a better way to melt them. Oh, I care about humans, and I had a friend that I lost, so I have pain, but also that planet that produces battle cruisers? Yeah, burn that down. Okay, I'm done until the epilogue. Anyways, we get the most unlikely couple from 1998 together and stomp our way through the temple to receive a history lesson.
I see now. The Xel'Naga were the first. born within the void. Their sacred purpose was to cultivate life and perpetuate the infinite cycle. At a new universe's creation, they take a physical form. If destroyed, they are thrust back into the void. All of this time, they have waited for us to assemble the Keystone and find our way here.
Yeah, you know history is written by the victors. So Artanis figures out that Amon doesn't have a physical form at the moment, and if we cut the connection with the Kala, his energy force would be thrust back into the void. We also get the story that the Xel'Naga have created life in many universes and galaxies, but never interfering. They're trying to get two of these forms of life to meet haphazardly and to bond and usher in a new age of life. Or I guess create the Xel'Naga again. Why do I feel like Amon has a point here? Who are the Xel'Naga to artificially produce life? It goes back to what Kerox was talking about. The Protoss were formed just like robots, so is it natural or is it designed?
No.
They're dead, Artanis.
Amon.
Now you see. With the essence of the great betrayer, your people fulfill their purpose.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome.
My host body is forged. With it, I bring an end to the cycle. An end to the infinite suffering.
My will is not so easily broken, Amon. The firstborn shall fear you no longer!
Matriarch, there is a massive output of void energy spiking from the temple below.
Target the epicenter of the...
I do not come as your enemy, Dark Templar.
You must listen to me, Matriarch. Amon's trap is sprung. Your leader is in grave danger.
You think us fools?
Yes, but that is irrelevant. What is relevant is that Amon has opened the gateway to the void.
See, that's why I enjoyed Alarak as a character. He knows he's powerful, but he also knows he needs Artanis' help.
I can guide you to Artanis before this fate befalls him. If we are bold, we can stop the Dark God's assault.
Am I to believe that the moment you're released, your blade will not be in my back?
You waste time. Lower your blades. I am Alarak, first descendant of the Tal'Darim. Amon has betrayed my people. Retribution will be claimed for this, and if your hierarch survives, he will aid in it. Make your decision.
Kerox informs the Matriarch that the Keystone is absorbing void energy, and I know it's basic continuity, but I do like how everyone is putting the Matriarch as leader number 2, and the cutscenes have that in mind. Rohana has another corruption change, but we can't really stop trying to save Artanis. Somehow we have High Templar that aren't connected to the Kala. I guess I missed how that happened. and never give High Templar the chance to storm Zerg.
Templar, join us, quickly!
To me, my swarm!
They always will. I enjoyed this level not so much for destroying crystals, but the fact that the void energy was blowing up all the Zerg in its path. Nothing against Kerrigan and the Swarm, it just was some visceral footage. And then, I kid you not, we get this.
Join us. Together, we can defeat Amon and send him back into the void.
My swarm was broken here, Artanis. I'll need time to rebuild my forces.
There is no time. My people are being consumed. Their very flesh turned into Amon's own. I cannot wait.
Then you must do as I have. Gather allies, subjugate enemies, do whatever you can to ensure victory. Survival is never pretty.
Artanis is like, we can do this together, and Kerrigan somehow doesn't have enough Zerg for teaming up? Lady, you are a superhero at this point, and not only that, did you know you were part of the main character trio of James Raynor and Zeratul? So, Kerrigan tells Artanis to be ruthless and diplomatic, which I guess isn't all bad, until we have to deal with Alarak.
Arrogance! Watch your words, or my blade will watch them for you.
Oh, that's hardly a way to speak of one who saved your master's life.
You care little for my survival, Alarak. What is the true reason you've come to me?
Our god broke his ancient covenant and cast us low.
These are lies, Artanis.
I am the liar? Are you not but a lie incarnate machine, Protoss?
So obviously we don't trust Alarak, but in a way I do. I do since he doesn't hide behind morality, he just wants to take over the Tal'Darim by force. After all the people in these games that fake the power that they want, looking at you Mengsk, it's honestly a breath of fresh air that this character knowingly puts out for Artanis and friends to see how determined he is to become High Lord. Alarak is the extreme. While I think Artanis is in the middle when it comes to the deliberation and effectiveness, we'll see how similar the two are and how different they can be as well. Artanis also questions Rohana again, since she's come under Amon's influence multiple times now, and the guys on floor 5 are pretty angry they cut their cords, but she hasn't. Jokes aside, it is getting a little iffy on Artanis holding out hope that she can repel Amon. We also get more info on the Keystone and how Kerrigan's fall on Char with the Keystone reverting her back to almost human was the power needed to bring Amon out of the void. Karox theorizes that we can reverse engineer the Keystone and extract Amon from the Kala, saving most of the Protoss that aren't being used to create Amon's physical form. I'm sure it takes a lot for Artanis not to lose hope after finding out the Xel'Naga are dead, and Amon literally is back. Cooler heads prevail or something. Now, I don't know if this was the right path to take, but I chose to go to Endion first. We're going after the Purifiers since what else do we have, and Phoenix poses that he can convince them to join our cause, even if the Protoss created semi-sentient beings, then lock them away for millennia. Eek, this might be awkward. But what's not awkward is Phoenix 3.0 doing some very interesting philosophizing.
Since awakening, I have been confused, directionless, uncertain of what I am, how I came to be. Now, things are clear once more. Fate has laid out a purpose only I can accomplish. It is exhilarating.
We gain access to the Colossus, which is one of the cooler looking inventions of the Protoss. It also helps that they shoot gigantic laser beams.
The Zerg are coming from that cave. If we fire on the rock formation, it will seal the opening.
This is one of the bad missions, which is saying something because it did have an interesting flow to it other than this goddamn gigantic megalith that takes forever to get anywhere and charge the stasis locks. Yeah, we need to unlock locks again, which now I'm starting to get tired of watching the footage. We have to unlock these locks in order to unlock the lock of the Purifiers, see what I mean? Alarak and Artanis have a great debate over freedom of choice. The only caveat to Alarak's thoughts on the Purifiers is that they're sentient. No matter if their minds are replicants, they can think for themselves, just as we've seen Phoenix starting to do. It would be a horrible misjustice for Artanis breaking free of the Kala to instill the same sort of bondage towards the Purifiers, no matter their original design. It's like art before the artist reveals it to the public. No matter what the artist wishes for the piece to be, once it's on its own, or has its own moment, it is up to it and others to be defined.
They will not be free. They will serve me. Freedom is a delusion, granted to the weak by the strong.
You speak as Amon does. For the sake of your life, that will change.
Control is a big theme, and I love how Legacy of the Void doesn't sugarcoat that Artanis does use control and power to fulfill what he deems as necessary. He just does it through what I think is good leadership and hard choices. What Alarak is talking about, and I disagree with him, is the fear and control have to be used in every situation. The line about how freedom is an illusion given by the strong to the weak might ring true at first, but is completely negated by how Artanis goes about it. If Phoenix were to deny his position and wanted to leave, I fully believe Artanis would have to live with that choice, rather than Alarak, who would probably force Phoenix into the role. It is a great philosophical debate, and another one I was just not expecting in this game. Even Artanis recognizing that Purifiers have every right to distrust or even attack the Protoss makes him a realist. What he would do if that happened would be a different story. Let's find out. So of course the Purifiers' power banks or whatever are filled with creep from Amon's swarm, and we're tasked with cleaning them up to power on the replicants. Once online, we have our moment of truth.
That's it! Seals are fully unlocked. Cybros is awakening. Hierarch, Cybros has reached full power, and the Purifiers are cleansing the station of the Zerg.
Fight on, brothers. Slaughter them to the last.
Wait, I've been disconnected from Cybros' systems. The core is activating. It's going to fire.
Lorian, what are you...
Commencing purification.
Zerg biosigns disappearing. The surface of Endion has been cleansed of life.
It is over.
Folks, what was that? I know the Protoss literally have no qualms about destroying planets infested with Zerg. Hell, the first intro to the original was exactly that. But Artanis, that wasn't all Zerg life down there, was it? If it was, still a little bit sketchy, but I would be a hypocrite if I didn't say something after Kerrigan going all destructoid on planets caused me a conniption. Okay, there are more pressing things at hand. Artanis makes his case with the Purifiers about joining the cause, and that's a great shot.
Executor Clolarian, you have awoken during the Firstborn's darkest hour. You have shown us that the Purifiers are a mighty force that could turn the tide of this war. I ask you now to honor your sacred charge as Templar and fight beside your brethren as you did before.
You are no different than the Conclave. Once again, you try to control us.
No. I wish to make amends for our past failures. I have fought battles alongside one of you. Phoenix, the one you are linked with. The Conclave feared your kind, but they are no more. I know you are true Templar. I have seen it. I ask that we stand as one, or none of us shall stand at all.
I will counsel with the others. They are deliberating. If we are to follow, we would ask the entity Phoenix to speak for us. There is much about this time we do not yet understand. But as long as you hold to your word, Hierarch, the Purifiers shall join the Firstborn.
Ah, so it all wasn't for nothing.
He believes all suffering, all conflict, results from the Xel'Naga's infinite cycle. That it must end.
Yes, he has made this clear.
But you see only the surface. Underneath, a silent hatred roils within him. A prideful resentment that would see all worlds burn. The hybrid are the true face of Amon. He wishes not only for the Xel'Naga's creations to be set aside, but for them to suffer.
She's been playing the double agent, or single agent, since she didn't double cross us. She's been tapping into Amon when Amon's been tapping into her. So, he's not all about suffering, but he really is? Is Amon a high school bully? Another great existential dialogue where Karax tells Artanis that the Purifiers even have a copy connection like the Kala's Light, but it holds no emotional bearing, so they can't be corrupted, but they were seen as less than because of that? God damn, Protoss are judgy. Also, this is a great moment where Phoenix starts to reconsider the given name. He's right. If he has started to think therefore he is, then it's fitting to have a new name, since his mind is not of that of Phoenix's. See, whatever happened, you have the agency over yourself, the freedom of choice, no matter what your background was or the fact that you might be a replicant. Our next stop is another Mobius core facility, which, holy god, this company really did go all out. Who was doing the accounting for these guys? I'm sure the margins weren't great, but by Jove, they really expanded their administration.
We will set a course at once. Amon has taken away my armies. So shall I take away his. Ready our ships for assault.
Hierarch, Mobius Core's vessels are not moving into attack position.
Something isn't right.
Our shielding has been punctured. I'm detecting Terran cloak signatures on the lower decks, heading toward the bridge.
Templar, to me! We will not let the Spear of Adun fall!
Oh, and their military coordinator. He might get a bonus too.
Mobius Corps will not expect a counterattack. Though you are not a warrior, you know their defenses better than any other. I entrust this task to you, Facesmith. Lead our carriers against the facility, while my warriors hold here.
As you command, Hierarch.
You mentioned the word carrier, and Karax and I got this, 100%. So Artanis and gang are fighting on the Spear of Adun, so Karax is tasked with counterattack. I love the changing of the platform mechanic. Not only did it bring something new to the franchise, but the scarcity of resources was a serious hardship. We also got to play with the Corsairs, a Brood War unit, and again, whoever got this past the higher ups to actually play to the fanfare and history of the games, thank you. Anyways, we platform our way to an excellent counterattack, and oh boy do I love carriers and not having to pay for those goddamn attack ships. Seriously, there were some great changes to the gameplay that was one of the small things that helped the flow. Nice, Karax. So Karax taking on the counterattack was no small matter. It actually sounded like Artanis is addressing him that he even thought the caste system to be important.
In the midst of darkness, I have seen a light. I have seen defiant hope. Karax of the Kalai, you were born a craftsman from a caste of engineers. But now, you stand as a warrior. Today, it is clear that the age of castes has come to its end. Today, we must all become Templar.
Yet here we are, Karax, a Facesmith, also can double as a commander. Amazing! Putting Protoss into small boxes so you can check them off does not help your cause. We also get a huge lore drop that Amon was a cheeky genetic freak who defied the Xel'Naga wives' tale about not disturbing the life forces they created. This backfired because the Protoss got too smart for Amon's liking, causing him to start again, this time on Xeris. We've been there before. We'll get more later. I absolutely love this dialogue between Phoenix and Artanis about why they are followed as leaders, and Artanis brings up how he never felt he understood why he was chosen to lead until he stopped thinking and started doing. This only works if you take responsibility for your actions, Protoss kids, so really do think before you act. We get to Slain, where the Tal'Darim are gathered, and Alarak wants to induce the ancient ritual of Rak'Shir.
Rak'Shir. Usurpation by ritual combat cannot be rushed. Its rites demand careful preparations if they are to be accepted.
We are in orbit above a hostile world with an imposing fleet, and you speak of preparation?
I intend to depose Malash, the ruler of an entire people, and bring them under my thrall. You will aid me, and in return, I will remove the Tal'Darim from this conflict. That was our bargain. To do this, the ritual must be carried out as tradition demands.
Yeah, I love the name. It's pretty cool if you ask me. I don't know, man. Something about Alarak just hits in the villain department. But we can't do the ritual at first, according to Alarak. We need to prepare, which means doing his dirty work for him. We also get the answer to why Amon would deceive the Tal'Darim after all they've done for him, and Rohana literally boils it down to, there's not enough room in the limo for you. Yeah, they're ending suffering in style.
I have felt his grand ambitions, Artanis. The dark truth is, Amon wishes no allies, aside from his hybrid.
We get our old drug back, Terrazine, which, damn, it's what Tosh wanted back in Wings of Liberty. Interesting it's used both on Protoss and humans. But that's not why we're here, Druggy. We're here to kill off Malash's guardians. 4 Tal'Darim that just like to chill on these mounds. I don't know, I guess it would have been a lot to ask for an insight into the Tal'Darim's governmental system, but like, what do these guys do?
You go to your death, Alarak. The Dark God will destroy you. I have heard enough of his lies.
Oh, that's satisfying.
Your ritual is complete. What now?
Well, they were not part of the ritual, but these traitors would have aided Malash in it, and I wish to see them die.
I really like that Artanis puts his foot down on being used by Alarak to dispose of the Guardians, but Alarak has a point. It's just less of a hassle if they were opposed to him taking over after winning Rak'Shir, even though I very much think that he got more pleasure out of killing those guys than he wants to admit. Another great detail and why I wanted to know more about the Tal'Darim or how they functioned is Alarak explaining to Artanis that Malash has done Rak'Shir countless times, killing a ton of usurpers. It's just a great detail to build up the Tal'Darim. And again, Alarak makes this point about comfort being a myth given to younglings. Oh, not those younglings. I will get to those games at some point, I promise. But comfort is an illusion until they experience pain, which is true existence. Christ, someone should send this guy Thus Spoke Zarathustra. There is some truth in the fact that no one can live a life without some sort of pain. And existence, at least in my lived experience, is worth it because of the comfort you can make for yourself and acknowledge the pain that it took to get there. An old human adage of nothing worth it is easy. Something Jimmy might have said to Artanis if he was in this fucking game. God, you'll understand in like 20 minutes. For now, we have Rak'Shir to attend.
The rite of Rak'Shir has begun. From this moment, only Alarak and Malash are allowed to engage each other in combat directly. One must overpower the other and reach the pit of sacrifice. There, the victor will stand as the new leader of the Tal'Darim, and the loser's life will be forfeit.
Grab your popcorn. So, Rak'Shir isn't a 1v1. Apparently both sides can bring troops, which was an awesome idea, and something I would never agree to do. Not only was this a visually striking fight, but sending units to advance Malash into the pit of sacrifice will stay with me for a while. Yet for the life of me, I cannot explain why there is a poop joke about 9 minutes into the mission. Who let the writers of Heart of the Swarm in here? Get them out. It's been so good.
Now I have all of them. My preliminary scans indicate that the solarite deposits are a byproduct of the beast's unusual digestive system.
Are you saying that they're... Wait. Never mind. I do not wish to know.
Tal'Darim, by the right of Rakshir, I am your High Lord. Listen and obey. Malash promised you lies. There is no ascension. The Tal'Darim will never be uplifted and become hybrid. Amon betrayed us, and for this, he must die.
Like, how can you not find this epic?
But you will not stop me.
Amon, I have destroyed your Terran army, eradicated your hybrid facility, and turned your servants to my side. All that is left is your destruction.
Impudence, back. You are insignificant in the face of the salvation I bring. You will come to Ire and die.
He is gone. He is so arrogant. Just as he could look into me, so I have looked into him. His form is almost complete, and now he waits for us to return. He plans to bring the Great Fleet down upon us. There is a way around this. We have to eliminate the sacred psi matrix that powers Ire, or we are all doomed.
Ah, there she is. Good stuff, Rohana. See, she knows that we have to destroy the psi matrix, and with that, she needs to sever her connection with the past and venture forth into the future.
This connection of yours has proved worthwhile. But it is time to free yourself from Amon. Sever yourself from the Kala.
I would relinquish all that I know.
It is the only way. Unshackle yourself from the past, Rohana, and step into this new age.
For the day long.
Artanis, you aren't going to help her up? Jesus, that was cold.
It is time for retribution. We will set a course for Ire.
So, Amon's body is on Ire, and we're going back to our homeworld number 1, baby. We have a bit more dialogue about integration of Protoss after this whole debacle ends, but it's really just conjecture. No one will know until Amon is defeated how things will work out. Now, that's an excellent detail showing that Ire's population is 5 billion, but in parentheses having it be Zerg. Another chilling moment, especially as a lifelong fan. Also, isn't the Overmind's carcass still there? Alarak and Artanis have another debate, this time about whether or not they should just destroy the planet, which would kill off Amon's body but also murder the entire Protoss race on the planet. It goes back to how do you want to go about getting to the solution, and what the legacy of that solution might be. Alright, Karax tells us that the Keystone is acting strangely, perhaps to Nerud's interference or tampering. We're going to try to use the Keystone to imprison Amon, even for 5 minutes to cut the cord, which I don't know how willing all these Protoss will be doing that, but let's see how it plays out. We get our final Blade Runner moment with Phoenix, who still hasn't picked out a new name yet, and descend to Ire for the final confrontation. Or so I thought. So the Psi Matrix or whatever is an interesting moment, since again it goes back to the question of are you truly free if you're connected not by your own choice? I like the metaphor how you have to sever the connective bond to form a stronger one. We also get to see Alarak in action, and guys, I know I'm fawning over this Bane-like space High Lord, but I would totally take a game with him, even if he was a bit full of himself. We're trying to destroy the crystals linking the Psi field, and getting to play almost all our advisors was a neat touch.
The final power structure. When it falls, the Psi Matrix will be no more.
Yes, Artanis, let's frickin' go.
Now that the Psi Matrix has fallen, Amon cannot warp the Golden Armada back to Ire to defend himself. We must destroy his host body before it fully awakens. For the sake of our people, we cannot falter.
Your actions have not eluded my gaze, Artanis. Your plans are not hidden from me. And you are too late. Behold, the form of your god. The culmination of a cycle set into motion when the stars were born. As I was your beginning, so shall I be your end. Know the truth, Artanis. Your people, your beliefs, your color, everything. A lie. There is nothing left of you.
You are wrong. We are finally free to become something more, and you will not stop us! Brace yourself for the full might of the Firstborn!
Oh, that's wild. Growing off the carcass of the Overmind plus the Protoss flesh is just a real horrifying visual that I clapped when seeing. Good on Blizzard for going a bit more visceral than usual. I would love to see a StarCraft game be set as an M rating, at least some iteration. Cough cough, StarCraft Ghost could be sick. So we have to destroy these void shards, which I swear we've done like every third level. Maybe there's just too many crystals, like cogs in Gears of War. This was a hard level, like very hard to micro my troops while they're taking damage from the void and also stopping counter attacks on my nexus points. Even more challenging as each shard you destroy, the more effective the other ones get at killing your troops. I don't know how you could do this mission without rank 3 everything, plus sentry shields and time stops, but persistence is king and we finally get the last one.
No, Amon's form has awakened.
All vessels, ready your weapons, now! Templar, unleash your fury!
Void energy levels dropping. Amon's host has been destroyed.
Ready the keystone, Karax. Our final stand approaches.
Finally, Phoenix chooses another name. Talendar. Like Tassadar. Okay, I'm okay with it. I like this moment.
I have been blessed to truly get to know you, Artanis. To call you friend, not just because of memory, but through experience.
We get our grandiose speech from Artanis.
Our race, our civilization, are those that stand beside you now, and those corrupted on the surface below. Our kind once stood as stewards of a galaxy full of promise. In our pride and division, we failed that sacred charge and failed to ruin. The Kala, designed to bring unity, ultimately only aided those divisions. Its hope was a lie. Today, that lie must come to its end, and with it, our prejudice and arrogance must become a thing of the past. For we now fight in the belief that our kind has not seen its end. That we Protoss can stand bound by a belief in unity, and that we Protoss will forge a great and mighty new civilization. Trust each other in the fight ahead. Strike as one will. Let our last stand burn a memory so bright that we will be known throughout eternity.
Hey, I clapped. So, is this the same map as the Zenith Stones, right? Like, I'm not crazy? Anyways, we have to defend the Keystone until it's charged. Wait, god damn it, we've done this before. We've done this multiple times. But who am I to deny a final stand in a StarCraft game? It's like Doctor Who using a magic screwdriver. Iconic and used a lot. So we have this epic last stand using everything at our disposal, plus the detail of the Spear of Adun getting absolutely decimated up top so we start losing our abilities was a great choice. However, I noticed partway through that Alarak had gone missing. Now, I don't know if this was intentional, if he had died, but I wanted to point it out. He is not there. He is not here after all the setup. After all of that, remember that. With the Keystone charged, we let it rip.
Warriors, pull back to the Keystone. Let them come to us. Selendis, hear me! Selendis, Templar, rid yourselves of Amon. Sever your nerve cord!
No. We are one in the color.
Without the color, what will we become?
Free. Rise. Believe.
Intaro Artanis!
What a great ending, am I right, guys? We've defeated Amon, the Protoss can address their societal differences and build Ire anew. Wait, what about Jimmy? Hold up, what about Kerrigan and the Swarm? Is Narud actually dead? What about the Tal'Darim? And then I saw this dreaded button that I curse with all my strength. The button is called the Epilogue. Alright, let's pause for a second here. Up until this point, I would rank Legacy of the Void as my favorite out of the 3 iterations of StarCraft 2 because of its storytelling, world building, gameplay mechanics, visual narratives, and so much more. It felt like they had a great ending and that everything could be shored up in a final game. The one to tie it in a beautiful bow and serve it up to the millions of fans that have adored the franchise since 1998. What this epilogue is not only throws dirt in the face of fans, but is such a disgusting add-on to the story that I'm still questioning what was going through Blizzard's minds. Because obviously it wasn't about a legacy. How ironic. I also, quickly, this is off script, I give props to Valve now. I've waited for Half-Life 3 for 20 years, but if I got some epilogue or like they wanted to finish it haphazardly, I would be mad too. Now, I know that Blizzard saw sales of StarCraft lowering. I get they want to make more money off of a WoW mount than the sales of a game. I will argue that they didn't need to make money off of this. Shocker, I know, a corpo not getting money for a product on their end is a failure. I see not finishing out a story respectfully when it partially made your studio a failure. I don't care if it cost Activision Blizzard $30 million. They would get the revenue back in a quarter or two with their other products. The fact that this epilogue was not a fully fleshed out DLC or something other than what we're about to experience, and that is a stretch to call it an experience, is mind-numbing and hurtful. I would love to get your take on this, but I cannot foresee anyone defending these next few missions and what they do to the story, the characters, the ambiance, the whole 9 goddamn yards. We get a freaking blurb about Kerrigan getting a psionic transmission. Then for some reason, after being gone for this whole entire game, Raynor decides to show up. For what reason? You've said goodbye to Kerrigan 3 times. And what about shooting a wall saying, "We're done, do you not understand?"
I love you, Jim. Never forget it. Sometimes even my hatred can't shield me from memories.
Of an enemy who damaged you?
No. Memories of better times. Of a friend now lost.
We're done. She ain't gonna stand us up, Celendis. If she says it's important, you better believe it is.
Oh, but it gets so much worse. We're back at Ulnar in the Rift, waiting for Kerrigan, and excuse me, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Jimmy? If she says it's important, then believe her? Guys, am I taking XL crazy pills? If Jimmy thought Kerrigan was so righteous or that Zeratul had the right prophecy, where were you? Also, hasn't Kerrigan lied to you literally every step of the way? Overmind or not? Free choice or not? We were fighting Mobius without you, and if you said Core Hall needed him, we find out later that no, it didn't. They already established their leaders, and it sure as hell wasn't Jimmy. And if someone says it's in a goddamn book or a graphic novel, I'm going to throw those at the wall, because that's not in this narrative. The actual game a book would be based on. Okay, so Amon's still alive, but so what? I'm sorry, he won't return during our lives, but he will return? Okay, how about who cares?
And what is it you suggest we do, Kerrigan?
There is a gateway to the void within Ulnar. I intend to go through it and destroy the Fallen One once and for all. I need your help.
Sarah's right. We can't kick this can down the road. This burden is ours, like it or not.
How would she know she could kill him in the void? And Kerrigan, actually everyone there, you've all been tricked by Amon's telepathy before. Why believe this random voice? I do not agree about kicking the can down the road phrase from Raynor. You absolutely can do that and be more powerful and united than you are now. You're just going into the void with no knowledge of it because Kerrigan hears a voice and everyone goes, well, actually, instead of building Ire again or Core Hall, you know, the cities that you cared about in every other game, we'll just head into the void. Entering the void was cool. I won't lie, I do like the concept. But why was this an epilogue? This isn't even rushed, it's just unfinished malarkey.
Shadows are tearing apart our ships. We're not gonna last long out here.
The voice is coming from up ahead. We have to reach it.
My forces will investigate.
I called to you in dire need. Now you have come to this realm.
Oh my god, it's Tassadar's voice? No, I don't believe that, but we have to press on and destroy this corruption in the void. The pure corruption. Isn't that what the void is? I'm so lost. And what? They ran out of villains, so they had to bring back Nerud because he's also some sort of Xel'Naga? But he isn't a Xel'Naga, just a follower? So what is he specifically? And if he was that powerful, why did he have a goddamn Harry Potter wand duel with Kerrigan? The only saving grace of this whole epilogue, and it's a slim one, is Stukov gets his revenge. And oh boy, I really can't lie, I cheered this so heavily I woke up my wife.
Hello, Duran. Do you remember what you did to me?
Stukov, you have come to gloat, haven't you?
No. I've come to say good night, you son of a bitch.
Artanis, you must come to me.
Sorry, Rachel. And I was cheering since maybe that was the ending of the epilogue, and it would be a cliffhanger for the next game, which in the back of my mind I knew never came out. Then this.
What can this be? Honored one, to see you bring such joy to my...
Tassadar, a form I chose to inspire action in the one called Zeratul. In you. The prophecies Zeratul followed, the result of my psionic extension into the minds of primitive beings.
You are Xel'Naga, the one who called to me. Who are you?
Oros, last shepherd of the cycle, enemy of Amon.
What? Oh my god, it's all been a lie. Why must it continue? Not like we should destroy everything, but why would we want the Xel'Naga to come back after all of this?
Why have you summoned us here?
The cycle must not be broken. The merging of purity of essence and purity of form must continue. You, the one called Kerrigan, can merge with my essence. Now, fulfill your destiny. Ascend as Xel'Naga. Continue the infinite cycle.
And what does he mean, merge with essence? Isn't the split purities about the Zerg and the Protoss meeting or two races that have been made by the Xel'Naga? Why would it work if Kerrigan is human without Xel'Naga influence and Zerg, which even she is free of Amon's corrupted Zerg strain? Those aren't two forms, right? Again, someone smarter than me can explain this, but did the Xel'Naga need to just merge with one life form that ascended, or is it that Kerrigan being of two fits the bill? And Oros is saying that she'll become a Xel'Naga and become a god? What?
Worlds destroyed? There's blood on my hands. I need to cleanse it. This is my destiny.
That's the worst justification I've heard this whole series from Kerrigan. Never taking responsibility, even post-second transformation, and goes, oh, all that bloodshed, it's on me, but I'll never be held to justice. I'm going to become a god. It's my destiny. When just seconds ago, Oros admits to making up the prophecy for small-minded animals. Like, what's going on? Yeah, Jim, I look the same way, but then it's not over. I thought it was going to be over, but it's not. It's not. So Oros is giving his essence to Kerrigan, and her power level scaling has gone way above 9,000. Like, we're not even in the same universe anymore. I hate this so much.
The power. It's so much.
You must channel it. Use it against these dark servants.
We defend Kerrigan's transformation again. She's on pace with Doctor Who.
That's it. I have nearly all of the Xel'Naga's essence.
I have been honored to serve you, my queen.
The swarm is yours, Zagara. Remember our lessons.
Okay, that's a good callback to Zagara and Kerrigan's odd conversations about learning, but then we get this.
with the last of our essence, a new eternity dawns. The infinite cycles have come to their end.
Someone mentioned what I thought about the ball of light, and I'll tell you what I think, but let me throw up first.
She is Xel'Naga.
No, just no. Please fly away in this end. Please end my suffering. Oh my god, Amon was right. What is this Jean Grey wackadoo writing I'm watching here?
They will always be with me.
Darling,
We have to go now, Jim.
end this thing. Once and for all.
That's Kerrigan. Oh my god, she's an avatar? That's not like any Xel'Naga we've witnessed. And you've got to be kidding me, sorry, but you called him a friend when he died. A friend. And if you're not professing your love after thinking Jimmy died, then what in the cosmic manipulation is going on here? And yes, I thought she goes to Amon and blows him up. The end. But no, one more goddamn mission? This was a slog. It was not needed. What was needed is another game to flesh out the characters we met throughout this franchise, or give them a proper ending. Even worse is that they make you play Terran and then Zerg, and you haven't played those races all throughout this game, so I was so rusty, and to switch playstyles, it just was confusing. Seeing Kerrigan in Avatar form reminded me of a mod for Age of Mythology. I could hardly believe what I was witnessing. And to be honest, at this point, I was rooting for Amon just to destroy everything. If the character arcs don't mean anything to the ending, just burn it to the ground. Even worse, all the characters like Rohana, Karax, Phoenix, Alarak, the ones that I spent hours talking to, listening to their questions, their insights, do not get a single fucking line except at the ending of this game. And some of them actually don't. Where it's like a Fallout ending where they tell you what has happened, but they give you 1 or 2 sentences. This would have been fine if it was right after we see Artanis and Protoss reconstructing Aiur with this really cool shot. But no, after killing off Void Crystals for the 10th time, we finally get to shoot Amon.
Manipulated for the entirety of your existence.
You know nothing about me. I care little for the Xel'Naga's infinite cycle, or your twisted lies. No. I choose something different. I choose freedom. For all of us.
What am I watching? What is this?
In the capital wing of Augustgrad, heralding in a new age of peace and prosperity within the Terran Dominion. On the Senate steps, Admiral Matthew Horner reaffirmed the military support of the new Dominion government and expressed his optimism for the latest...
Wow, all of this would have resonated so much more, like so much more, if they gave this more time. Like knowing a more fleshed out ending to Valerian, Horner. I did enjoy the callback to Tychus walking in and wondered who it would be this time.
Jimmy, you will hold her
You about ready to get out of here, cowboy?
Hell.
No. What? So that's Kerrigan, but it's an astral projection of her? And excuse me, James Raynor was never seen again? So Kerrigan, after 2 years having the power to show up and whoosh Jimmy away into the cosmic void land, but waited for some reason? Just so they could get off the Horner and Valerian thing? And why say goodbye in the first place? You thought you were a god, but then left the person you quote-unquote cared for to drink more for 2 years? And Raynor just to go with it? Saying I'm coming is egregious at the smallest and biggest of levels. This is the guy who has fought years against tyranny, oppression, dabbled in it himself, shot a wall saying never again, didn't show up throughout the game, and now just goes quietly into the light void? I'm sorry, throwing my vegetables on stage right now like they did in Shakespeare's time. This is like finding out there's a Henry IV Part 3 and instead of anything built up in the first 2 parts, Henry and Falstaff get teleported into the MGM casino and have to pull off a fucking heist. It just doesn't work. I do not understand how there was not a full timeline for what they wanted to do for StarCraft 2. I don't know why they decided to fit this epilogue in when the ending of Legacy of the Void was kind of perfect and had a great cliffhanger, being did we really kill off Amon, and what will the 3 factions do with a tentative peace? But no, it spat in our face for caring about this universe. Yeah, the 2 major side characters in Wings of Liberty, 1 sentence. The Swarm, the thing we've been afraid of and fighting for all this time, 1 sentence. Alarak, one of the coolest characters in StarCraft 2 as a whole, and someone that had a great story arc even in his short time, gets the treatment of, yeah, he peaced out. No resolution, no fight with Artanis, nothing. Just a 2-sentence blurb that reflects that he learned something from his time with the Firstborn. And then we get Sarah and Jimmy seeding worlds even though he isn't Xel'Naga, as an organic human probably would die being so close to Kerrigan's avatar body. Or in a god's presence. Holy shit, I can't take this anymore. Well, after some time to cool off, I want to say thank you so much to those of you who have stayed past the rant-fueled nightmare that the last however many minutes was. This has been an eye-opening experience, analytically talking about StarCraft's story, starting with the original and ending here. No matter how bungled this ending is, the original 2 games will always hold a place in my heart, alongside Wings of Liberty, and Legacy of the Void's main campaign was my favorite out of the 3, but the epilogue ruins any semblance of pleasure I would have from, a non-rushed ending. This universe deserves so much more. Like, so much more love from Microsoft, Blizzard. Whoever has their finger on this IP and chooses to do nothing with it is disgraceful. I don't think I've ever cared about continuation, even though I would like to know what happens to the Tal'Darim and Ayers rebuilding, but for heaven's sake, give us a first-person horror shooter from the perspective of a Marine during the Siege of Korhal. Give me alien isolation on a Mobius facility that has had an outbreak. Hell, give me Stukov and Horner doing a buddy cop politician hijinks movie. The list can go on and on. There are so many talented writers out there that could work with anything, and this is what we got? Ending on a whimper and not a bang? Who wants to play fastest 3v3?